Well, hello everyone. Welcome to week 8 of Formula G, and we are in England, the home of Lancaster Racing, for our 8th race of the season. My name is Zotomo, and I'm joined as always by Calamity. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great. Yeah, interested to take a look at in what is in real life home to many Formula One race teams, and only one team in our own little fantasy league here. But yeah, England, not the whole of the UK, so a little bit more concentrated, but still plenty of rural, small roads to get stuck on that could give our drivers a tough time today.
Yeah, for sure. We've also only got one driver from the UK, so that's interesting as well. Plenty of drivers from the US though. Yeah, England in general, it always depends a bit, and I feel like we've had countries like this so often in this season where most of the time you're going to be fine, but if you're out there in the middle of nowhere, it can be really difficult to get to any good signs at all. Although I think probably England is still better for that than if we would have included something like Wales or I don't know. But there definitely are plenty of areas, especially in the national parks
Mm.
or well on the roads going through the national parks, where you might just travel for 3-4 minutes and not really find much at all except for a couple of villages.
Mm. Yeah, and plenty of coastline too, all the way around. So it's not like we're on the coast. That must mean we're on this side of the country. You could be anywhere. That isn't going to help you out too much. The roads, though, are pretty well organized for the most part, at least the major ones. So knowing some of that scheme, the M and the A numbers, as well as some, I think the B is even well laid out.
When you
I'm not
say
sure.
well organized, it depends. It's it's always difficult to really say that for sure because you
Yeah.
have a sort of a what's the right word for that? You have a trend
Mm.
where generally like the numbers starting with one are all in the same region, but they're not necessarily like well organized within that region.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the
True.
A10 could be miles away from the A11, and the A12 could be somewhere different entirely, and they could all be like anywhere within that region. But yeah, if you do find a number that starts with like a uh, the M3, for example, or any A300, then you're going to be looking, for example, west of London in that
Mm.
area.
Yeah, very nice. Well, our driver lineup for you today is M the Baseman in round 1, Lunacy Echo round 2, and Wickholm 3, Mr. Blue 4, and Pluki rounding this out in round 5. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road, and we will start with M the Baseman in round number 1.
With a fantastic internet connection.
There we go. It's not my internet connection, it's his. And there we go into round number 1, and at least we start near a dock. Merseyside docks. Well, how about that?
The Spade Lane Cool Store.
A2. So we are going to be to the southeast of
Yes.
London. Down there. And he knows we're near the coast somewhere, as well as
Yeah.
Rainham, Sittingbourne, Newton,
Newington. Yep.
Newington. Man, British city names.
They don't seem particularly strange to me.
They just like to an American ear, they just sound very old, which they
Okay.
probably are. So like we
Yep.
can't fault them for that, but
He's got Spade Lane there.
Spade Lane. He's on Mill Lane. Go up a road a bit, and now back. He does start a bit south on that road.
But how far south?
Yeah, that's going to be the tricky thing. Already a minute and a half in, he's pretty much got it pinpointed. So that's the gate. He's got to go a little bit further than that. Maybe not. Maybe that isn't the gate.
Yeah, it's really difficult to see because, well, you basically start next or in the, well, I wouldn't really call it in the woods, but you've got a few trees on the side there, and you can't really see to your west at all. So it's difficult to really compare the map with what you're seeing
Mm-hmm.
on Street View.
Yeah, the detail isn't quite what we would hope for. There looks to be plenty of buildings around, and then there just isn't the actual view. So
Yeah.
he'll drop a guess, and it will be plenty good enough. 5 meters away, an ace for him in round one. So right away, we had an A road number, a major road, only a single digit. Town names, the street we're actually on. Pinpointing a bit tricky in that one, but a very straightforward round number one for England. Calamity.
Yeah, and almost everyone didn't have problems with that, except for Embwicombe, who I watched part of his video, and you saw that first sign essentially that Baseman saw. It said Mersey Docks on it. And as a big Liverpool fan, Embwicombe was like, Merseyside? That's Liverpool.
I know where that is.
And unfortunately for him, the Mersey Docks and Harbour Company isn't just contained in Liverpool. And yeah, he never really found much more beyond that could help him. So he dropped about 4,907 points. But everyone else, close or close enough. Not the easiest round to pinpoint. So a few points lost here or there. But of all of our other competitors today, here, everyone managed to 5K.
Yeah, lesson there in using all the signs at your disposal, not getting too focused in on just one, as it can sometimes do you a little bit of injustice there. As we will head into round number 2 with Lunacy. And we will start in a town. So, couple street names.
Mm-hmm.
That should help pinpointing once we get there.
If we get there.
Yeah. After I played some Eswatini this week, and one of the things was I found road names like in the street view, but on the map there are no road names. So you're like, well, so luckily in England that doesn't usually happen too often. If you find a road name, you will be able to pick it up on the map. So the trick here is just figuring out what town exactly you are in.
Yeah, and that's more difficult than it sounds a lot of the time in England. They don't really like putting their town names everywhere.
Yeah, so the one trick to handle that is to try to get out of town. Oh, well, that'll do. Trash cans are also a good one. Norwich City Council. There it is on the sort of East Coast. He knows he's sort of in Zone 3. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but we saw a couple of those signs.
It's hard to know whether that's just like a zone for some like administrative purposes or if it's actually like anything that you might be able to use to help yourself.
Yeah, so Waterloo Road, there's a church up the road there. Looks like it might be a major road he's on now that he might be able to catch if he can get the name of it.
There's also a river running through Norwich, so if he could find that, it would also help him.
And about half his time gone. We'll need to do a little bit more. Constitution Hill, that might be a bit helpful. But even being in the town, there's Waterloo Road. Very nice find for him there. Now it's just backtrack and find those starting roads again.
I think I remember him seeing Alma Terrace, which he's like right next to on his marker on the map.
ING Starling Road. He is about 1.5 houses down the road from that. That does make sense.
Still on a 5K on a perfect game as well, so want to make sure you get as close as possible.
Yep, and 8 meters, that'll do it. Not bad at all. A little bit far away. A bit tricky there. It doesn't quite match up with what it appears to be on the street view, but still aceable nonetheless for him. We can see Mr. Blue also did pretty well in that one among the leaders so far. Pretty straightforward for everybody else this time, as long as they could find the town name, I assume.
Yeah, but with 4 minutes, that's more than enough time for most, actually. We still have a couple of players not finding it. But again, most people, no problems. And Wickham struggling a lot with England. He guessed in, give me a second. Well, just around Leeds.
Mm,
Um, just I guess not finding anything within the 4 minutes, but everyone else from our drivers with a 5K here.
very nice. Well, yeah, well, let's move things on to M. Wickholm in round number 3 and see if he can have a bit of a better time. England has not been the nicest to him, as we will jump into round number 3. And, well, there's a nice golf course, which I assume is a golf course. Yes,
Yeah,
it does appear
it
to
might
be.
be.
So, Tregenna?
Yep, it does. And there's a nice
Tregenna
castle in the
something.
background.
Yep, there's a nice big castle. So, well, if he knows where Tregenna Castle is, that'll be helpful. The castle approach.
Rounds like this can be very tricky to get out of because essentially you're in like a, I don't want to call it a tourist area just yet, but in sort of a place that can have quite a few different roads going through a park area, but in this case not too bad.
Well, that should be a big help. We're on the coast.
Mm-hmm.
Narrows down it a little bit, not a whole lot, but at least you can skim the coastline now and look for something, that point of interest, that castle. A road number, some kind of sign as to what part of the country he might be in.
Yeah, if you can see the coast, then probably a town name would already be enough, even if
There's
it's not the
right
biggest in the
there.
world.
He zips right past it, but I don't know if it was big enough to really warrant a stop anyway. Internet not the speediest, so I'm not gonna help him out there. There we go. Coast. Again, castle accommodations, so quite a few clues. He's looking in the right area. And there's the big point of interest.
It is, yeah.
There we go. Now, pinpointing inside of this park could be a bit tricky. There's no names for him to use, so we'll have to try to judge what part of that loop he is on.
Yeah, he's got plenty of time for it, though, so it should be fine.
It does look like he is on the southern part of the loop. See if he can pick up on that. There's those tennis courts. Yep, very nice. There we go. When we usually get to watch M. Wickholm, I'm always, you do pick out rounds where they do well for us to watch. And he does usually have 1 or 2 good rounds in a game. And I've always kind of wondered what happens in the other rounds. Because I don't watch them all, but it's like he's got the skill. Definitely has proved himself in 3 seasons of Formula G. So, yeah, and 6 meters away, really good job taking care of that loop and finding out that location in Cornwall, in the kind of the west part of England. So
Yeah, it kind of feels like either like I've been here before or like I know this place, I recognize it from somewhere, because I don't think he found anything concrete other than, we're on the coast somewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just like, well, I guess I'll start looking somewhere, and he decided to start looking exactly there.
Yeah. Well, it did have sort of like almost a Brittany vibe to some of the buildings and architecture, which would point to that kind of western coast area that shares similarities in architecture. But yeah, and Wickham, if you're watching, let us know in the comments below how exactly you parse that one out. How did everybody else do in that round? Another actually seemingly pretty straightforward round.
Yeah, the Basement actually struggling with that one a bit, and finding like the general area, but somehow not able to find the big castle he started in front of. He did use all of his 4 minutes. I don't know if he just found the right town at the last second and just clicked there somewhere. But he dropped 107 points and 5Ks all around otherwise.
Right. Well, our last 2 drivers in Mr. Blue and Pluki are both still on a perfect game. Let's see if they can keep that up. We'll take a first look at not in the basement. He's the one who dropped points in Mr. Blue.
M the Blue Man.
M the Blue Man. That's a good team name right there. Here we go. Well, Amber Valley Government, Thornton Way. That's a small town name.
Not actually a
So,
town name. It is a non-metropolitan district.
oh boy, that sounds like a load of fun.
It sounds like a no, you're not going to find this anywhere on a map.
Yeah, exactly. And it's definitely like suburban, right? All these houses are the same, these kind of
Yep.
windy roads to stop people from speeding through them. And which also means, yeah, good luck trying to get out of this.
Kind of looks like these houses were all built in sort of, I don't know, the 90s or something like that, but we don't want them to look new. Um
Mm,
so we're going to build them like that.
yeah, I mean, this can't be a too old of an area, but yeah, the architecture and
Yeah.
everything seems to try to have fit a certain style.
You can usually tell if like a whole big district all looks the same, then it's
Mm,
probably relatively recently built. And with that, I
yeah,
mean like last 50, 60 years, not like 500 years ago,
yeah.
essentially.
So a very recent expansion onto a town. There's a bus. Can you get a city out of that? Dorchester, that's a very good one. Should be able to find that on a map if you
I
can
don't think that
recognize it.
says Dorchester. I think
Oh,
that says Derbyshire.
oh, Derbyshire. I thought that was an O. My brain kind of filled in the rest, but I know there's a Dorchester in England somewhere.
Yeah, there is. There is.
But it's very far away from Derby. I know that much.
I also know it's pronounced Derby and not Derby, so
Derby.
I don't know if it's Derbyshire. Then I assume so.
Hmm. Yeah, would make sense. Whitemore Lane.
Hmm.
Again,
Street name.
yeah, town name, but not really an area. Not sure where to start looking for those road names. Still got a minute and a half to go. There we go. There's a
Looks like
big
there is. Yeah.
road sign. A609. That
Where's
might be something you can
Elkston?
look for.
Yep.
And there's Ilkston to the
Probably.
northeast.
Oh yeah, right there. Um. Will he find it? There you go. He has found it. No A609 standing out there, though, which is another problem with
Mm,
England, especially, but also, the other countries in the UK, where you can
okay.
never really know whether a road designation like this actually shows up as one of these like yellow green
Mm,
things that you can easily tell apart, or it's just going to be like a road name,
mm,
essentially, where you have to zoom in all the way and it shows up like every other road name there.
mhm. So with 40 seconds left, he is in the neighborhood. There's Thornton Way.
Hmm.
Good find. Now trying to pinpoint exactly where he is. There's a little weird dip in the road there.
He's on one of those side
Yeah,
streets, but which one of those
directionality.
three?
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they're all Thornton Way and it's like a loop,
That's a bit
right?
strange because there is a
Yeah.
road to the north of him that goes off to the east, which just isn't there where he's got his marker right now.
Yeah, so that unfortunately will throw him off a little bit and cost him 4 points. Yeah, you can see they're 63 meters away, just enough to drop that. But it also seemed to be a little bit difficult for everybody, maybe because that road didn't quite appear where it should be on the map.
Yeah, quite a lot of people having problems pinpointing that to the exact location, but mostly just finding the place in the first place was pretty difficult for most people.
Mm.
I'd say about 90% of the players got in the right region, but beyond that, only very, very few people actually even got to the stage where they're looking for the right street name,
Mm,
presumably.
agree.
And Mr. Blue definitely did very decent there with his 4,996 points. Out of the other four we're covering today, none of them got as close, with M the Basement being the other closest with 7.3 kilometers, so even he wasn't even in the right city.
Mm.
And then we've got Pluki with 3,955 points and 20 kilometers. Heading me 3,600 points, and Lunacy with only 1,000 points. He guessed up near Blackpool.
Yeah, so that sign that gave him a few of those local town names, definitely helping Mr. Blue out there. We'll go to our final round. Nobody, at least in our set, is on a perfect game. We'll see if Pluki can pull it back after disappointing round 4 in round 5. And start somewhat in the rural, not really rural, but older town for sure. Doesn't look like the new development we were just in.
Definitely not, no. I also just looked up as well because I was pretty sure like Shire is pronounced like not Shire. I just couldn't really get my tongue to make sense of Derbyshire. But that's how it's pronounced, sort of. Close enough at least.
There's a nice van. Wessex.
Wessex, yeah.
There's a region.
Is Wessex? Is Wessex just west of Essex?
Oh, there's a Dorchester. I don't know. It would make sense that would be some kind of naming scheme.
Or is this Wessex just include? Do a bit of Google searching again. Well, yes, it is west of Essex. Yeah. There's Essex, then south of that is Sussex, and west of that is Wessex.
So XX or something must be the region, and then it's the north, east, south, and kind of west parts of it or something. Old English.
There is no north. There's no north part of it, but yes,
they might have renamed it to something else. There's Charminster.
Maybe.
A little bit of linguistic history for you there, and the naming scheme of some of these regions. And he's got the town. Over 2 minutes still to go. Now it's down to figuring out what road he's on. There we go. Bucklands. And West something. He goes so fast. I'm trying to read these words. And he's just skipping along. Did get a 5K, I believe. Yes, 2 meters away. Clicking through very fast. 23,955 points for him. So only one round will cost him his perfect game. Yeah, that street sign, pretty helpful. Major town names, easy to find, as well as the town you're actually in. And then there's actually not too many roads to have to search through in that one. So not a bad round 5 to finish us off, Calamity.
Yeah, and again, not really many people who have problems here. A few. And Wickham, unfortunately, again, not too close, only getting 1,300 points there. But Lunacy, Baseman, and Mr. Blue with no problems in that last round either.
Very nice. And how did they all finish up in the overall standings?
We've got Mr. Blue, who his only dropped points were in that round that we saw, round 4, finishing third with 24,996 points. And then we got to go quite a ways down outside of the points to 13th for the Baseman with 24.4k, 18th for Pluki on 23.9, 20th for Lunacy on 21k, and then Wickham on 10.4k in 22nd.
Very nice. Well, if you want to know how everybody else did and how the league is shaping up going into the final 2 weeks of the competition, you can check out our Formula G show on the channel. We go over all the details, as well as the sprint race and some promising drivers coming up through Formula G2. And we'll see you over there. Take care.
Bye.